Good evening, everybody. Welcome in to another episode of the Faithful Dogs podcast. I am Tyler Johnson, joined by Zach DeFranco, Jack Robinson. Gentlemen, how we feeling tonight?
Oh, man, I'm feeling tired but ecstatic about where we're going right now.
Really?
Where are you heading right now? Where are you heading right now,
I'm
Jack?
talking about the Browns, man. We're on the up.
Well, I mean, I guess we'll get into that in a little bit here.
We might discuss the Browns tonight. Anyway,
There's a possibility.
Before we get into tonight's episode of the Faithful Dogs podcast, guys, if you are joining us on Facebook and YouTube and not yet subscribed to the channel, remember, it is free to subscribe to the channel. And also, we are giving away a listener's choice of any jersey they want when we reach a certain number of subscribers. It was 1,000. We might be changing that. So just subscribe to the channel. Show us that you are subscribed to the channel and you are entered in, again, any jersey of your choice. Doesn't have to be Browns, Ohio State, Cavs, whatever you want.
Team USA, I know that they got knocked out early, but they're promising. But and anyone who's already subscribed, like I know people keep asking me that question. Like if you're already subscribed, you're automatically enrolled in every single future giveaway we do for subscribers, and they're going to be more and more and more. So yeah, I mean it's worth it. It's free to subscribe on YouTube. It's not like Twitch anymore where you got to pay us money to subscribe. It's free, and you guys reap all the rewards that we give out. So.
Yep, exactly. And before we get into tonight's episode, really starting off with some Browns news, we do want to take a second and hear from our daily fantasy sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. What's up, everybody? We know that daily fantasy never stops, and Network 216 is proud to be a partner with Underdog Fantasy. Very simple to use. All you have to do is go to underdogfantasy.com and you will just click the sign in button. You'll create an account if you haven't done so already. If you've not created an account, it'll ask you to enter code 216, and they will double your first deposit up to $100. Underdog Fantasy, live draft lobbies that you get to compete with you and your friends. It's no salary cap like DraftKings and FanDuel. You get to go to a draft lobby, pick the players you want, or you can do daily pick'ems, which give you access to all the NFL and NBA games for you to make your picks every single night. Again, go to underdogfantasy.com or use the Underdog Fantasy app on iOS or Android. Use code 216 to double your first deposit up to $100. Sign up today. And gentlemen, there's a lot to talk about regarding Deshaun Watson's debut, but before we do that, we should probably start off with just some of the news that's already happened this week. Browns linebacker Sione Takitaki has been placed on season-ending IR with a torn ACL injury. The team has signed Reggie Ragland, who was on the Raiders practice squad. Also, Anthony Schwartz, wide receiver Anthony Schwartz. He has been placed on IR. He's out at least the next 4 weeks with concussion. And they just claimed off waivers wide receiver Jalen Darden from Tampa Bay, who's also a kick returner / punt returner. So just your initial thoughts on those moves that have been made this week.
Dude, Sione Takitaki's tough. That was tough.
Yeah, that's really, really rough. Like losing Sione. I mean, we've just had really bad luck with our linebackers this whole season. I mean, just that's like our third starting linebacker we've lost this season already. Yeah, I mean, obviously we're not like the worst in terms of injury luck in the league, but losing those guys, especially in a unit that has really been kind of like one of the bright spots of our defense for a lot of the year, definitely sucks.
Yeah, no doubt. And Josh, appreciate you tuning in. MC Lawrence, thank you. And Darren Johnson, thank you guys. They're joining us in the chat. Any questions or comments, feel free to drop them down. We'll get to as many as we can, but kind of like what you talked about, Jack. I mean, it's a major loss. I mean, Sione Takitaki came in. He was not a starter to begin the year. Jacob Phillips was there. Jacob Phillips is out for the year. Sione Takitaki's really stepped in. And Anthony Walker too. Yeah. My bad. Anthony Walker Jr. losing him, but Sione Takitaki stepped up and has been one of the better players on this defense. And now you're losing him. Kind of brings me into the next transition point. It's next man up right now. So now you have Reggie Ragland, Tony Fields, and Jordan Kuzmak, however you say his name. So how do you guys think the Browns can cope with this loss on defense? Because Takitaki to me is one of the most important players on this defense right now.
Well, I think we saw a little bit of it in the game against Houston, is that you need a guy like Tony Fields to really step up into that role that Taki was holding down for the entire season. I mean, he came in, he was instant impact. He was making plays. He was getting up in the face. He was getting pressures. Obviously, he had big plays on special teams and on defense. You really just need him to kind of take that next step. I think a lot of people were wondering what exactly his role in this team was going to be. I think he's a third-year player. Or is he a second-year player? I'm pretty sure it's second-year player, but
second-year player out of West Virginia.
And I think that he just needs to take that next step. I mean, this is a really good opportunity for him to really become like a centerpiece in this defensive scheme, kind of become the head of that room. We still don't know exactly whether or not Anthony Walker is going to be here next year, what Sione Takitaki's future on this team is going to look like. And I think that even if Sione does come back, he might not come back until maybe mid to late next season because it's an ACL tear. So I think that this is Tony Fields' room to kind of dominate and kind of become the main guy. So I'm really hopeful that he kind of, takes this opportunity to really become the guy the rest of the season, hopefully the even moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, he's young still, but I'm not even sure what role he will really play at linebacker moving forward, Tony Fields. But I mean, he looked good. I think he played, what did he play, 33 snaps after Sione?
Yeah, he got 33 snaps after Taki went out.
And he graded pretty high on PFF, but I mean, like he was kind of just thrown in there too. So let's see what he can do with like a week of preparation. Obviously, you're facing a way more high-powered offense. They're the Bengals that we're going to get into later. They're on such a hot streak right now. But that being said, like I think he shows promise. He's fast. He's not the biggest guy in the field, but he's quick. So it depends on where Joe Woods thinks he fits best. I think they'll probably just kind of keep him at the mic, to be honest with you, but we'll see.
His emergence to end this year is going to be what I think determines if they move JOK to strong safety. If Tony Fields can show that he can handle a full-time job at linebacker, because Tony Fields coming out of West Virginia was the guy originally you thought would back up JOK. He's that type of player. He's a very versatile type of player. They've talked about whoever the new D coordinator is could look to move JOK there because he could really shine in that role. So, Jack, I want to bring this to you first because, I mean, we've all been very critical of Joe Woods, all of us, but you started it before anybody else, it seems like, with your takes on Joe Woods. In your mind, because the defense has looked better the last couple weeks, that they have, is there a way Joe Woods can save his job?
Of course there's a way that Joe Woods can save his job. I mean, it all really comes down to how much progress can they make in these last few weeks. I mean, I think a lot of people think that this is going to be like a foregone conclusion, that he's just gone. And I think that if the season had been going the way that it continued to be going, like if we had maybe lost a few weeks ago and we weren't on a 2-game winning streak, and if the defense had been sluggish against the Texans, and then we go into these last 4 or 5 games and we just are kind of middling to not very good, then I think that it would be foregone and he would be gone. But if he comes out and he is able to, be decent, be competitive, and look like he's getting the most out of his guys, which he's been doing a little bit the last couple of weeks, I think that there's a good chance he can keep his job, just because Kevin Stefanski, I feel like, isn't going to fire him unless he knows for sure that the guy cannot work in like as the leader of that defense. Like because I just don't think that Kevin Stefanski, because I like a lot of people are saying, well, if he fired him, like why would he why would he wait until the end of the season? Like, why wouldn't he just do it now? And I mean, there's a whole lot of these. I just think that Kevin's not the guy to fire somebody unless he knows for sure that that's like the best decision to make. So unless there's a huge breakdown the rest of the season on that defensive side, I just don't see Joe Woods leaving. But again, we still have 4 or 5 more games to go, so we'll see what happens. I think that he's I think a lot of people want to give him his props for what happened on Sunday. I don't know whether or not to give him full props for that or to give Kyle Allen half of the props because I mean he gave Joe Woods basically just probably one of the best performances of his tenure as the Browns DC.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think.
But
I'm sorry.
Tyler,
You go, Zach.
I think a big thing that was really like promising was how like Dameon Pierce, when he gets the ball early and often, he's a good running back. He's not like a big receiving back, but he gets the ball early and often, and he's been giving defenses problems. He gave the Eagles problems. So I think the fact that we're like starting to shut down running games now too, I think we're starting to see a little bit of more promise out of Perion Winfrey as well. So I don't know. I don't think he's going to save his job. I think regardless he's gone because this is 2 years in a row now where it's like back half of the season, then the defense starts to get it together. And on top of that, it's because he has to dumb down his own scheme. So I don't think that's going to save his job at all. But if we can finish hot, like I said last week with you, Jack, if we can finish hot and go on a big win streak and see if we can make playoffs and go from there by any means, man, like I would love that.
Like obviously I would like it if we moved on from Joe Woods because I think that we all see the cycle. We all see how sometimes the things he does just don't work and that I mean it takes him until week 10 to start figuring it out, to start maybe like putting out a scheme. I don't want him back. I'm not saying that I think and hope that he's back if he gets it all together because I don't know if him getting all together at the end is indicative of what's going to happen at the beginning of next season because we all thought last season that moving into this season it was going to be really good. But I do think that just because of the way that Joe Woods has been incorporated into this team, with Andrew Berry and with Kevin Stefanski, that they're not going to rush to move off of him unless there is like a major unless his incompetence and some of the issues that he has completely continues into the end of the season. And now that we've kind of had a break where it's like, okay, 2 weeks where you can't really look at the defense and say that that's like a glaring issue. Like it's one of those things where if we kind of move past that and it becomes less consistent, like he's less consistently awful, I feel like there's a chance that those two just might be able to pass off just saying, okay, well, he just needed another year. We need to focus more on the defensive tackle position. That like they'll find ways to kind of let him stay rather than having to fire him and get a whole new defensive staff in there, which I think is what they need.
See, Jack, I think it's nearly a foregone conclusion that this is the end of Joe Woods' time in Cleveland. From some things I've read and the fact that there have been a lot of disappointment within Berea of the development of these young defensive players. And that ultimately falls back on the defensive coordinator and not playing them to their strengths to where they can succeed. And you're seeing a lot of regression. I mean, Greg Newsome did have his best game of the season, so that's great to see. But Greg Newsome has been disappointing this year when you're moving him to the slot, which I don't think is his position. You have another scenario. JOK has been moved everywhere. But they even used him earlier in the year when Anthony Walker went down at middle linebacker. After Phillips went down, they used JOK at middle linebacker, which is not something he can play. Like, that's just not who he is. And it's just a scenario. He's not playing to the strengths of his players. And you have players calling him out. Myles Garrett directly pretty much calling him out. I think it's beyond return. Regardless of whatever Joe Woods does, I think – I'm not saying Stefanski's the one making this call because I think it is a collective unit. I really do. I think Joe Woods is gone. I think the entire defensive staff is probably gone after this year. And I think Mike Priefer's gone too.
Yeah, exactly. But I think there's one person that could be safe, and that's Kiffin on the defensive line. But other than that, I think, like you said, Tyler, I think it's going to be a whole revamp on the defense side of the ball because that coordinator is going to come in and want to pick his staff anyways.
Yeah, and I have nothing against Chris Kiffin. I think Chris Kiffin's gotten kind of screwed, to be honest with you, by Andrew Berry with not having the personnel. So, I mean, I'm all for keeping Chris Kiffin. I mean, I'm for that. But like you said, Zach, if you have a new guy coming in, he's going to bring in his own people. It's rare in the NFL where we see the same, position coaches retained. Now you see it in college a lot, but not as much in the pros. MC Lawrence asked a good question. What's up with Deion Jones? Well, Deion Jones will be starting now. Tony Fields is playing ahead of Deion Jones. So but now you need two linebackers on the field, 3 linebackers. Deion Jones will be back on the field. So that's basically where he is. Okay, gentlemen, the elephant in the room before we move on to Cincinnati. The Browns did win this game. First and foremost, that's really all that matters at the end of the day is they did win the game. They beat the Houston Texans 27-14 without an offensive touchdown. I never thought I would ever say that, given how this team has looked this year. Deshaun Watson. We could talk about any other offensive player. We could talk special teams. We could do whatever. But Deshaun Watson was 12 of 22, 131 yards, 6 yards per attempt, a pick. What are your guys' initial thoughts?
Bad interception.
Yeah. What were your guys' initial thoughts on his performance? I said it. I just can't believe the amount of people that were just expecting him to come in and be this top 5 quarterback after not playing 700 days of football.
Okay, here's the thing. So now you guys got me talking. All right, we saw it, right? We saw it. There's that one play where he just somehow avoided a sack from his blind side and right up the middle from the center pressure. And you're like, oh, wow, like that's the guy you traded the farm for. And then, obviously he had those plays on his feet where if he didn't get tripped up, there was green grass ahead. Like you saw what you traded for. But the fact that some people expected this dude who hasn't played a down of live football, like practicing is one thing. Going to the Caribbeans with your team and playing on sand is one thing, and learning the scheme and learning the timing with your wide receivers. But playing against a live defense, granted, it's the Texans. I get it. But it's still a live football game. And they expect him to come out here and like 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, dude, like automatic, like best QBR in week 13 in the NFL. No, that's not going to happen. I honestly, I'm happy with just coming out there with a win that week. Because before that DPJ touchdown, I was like, what the hell are we watching, dude? Like, I thought it was going to be a disaster. I thought we were all talking win out. Some people were talking winning out the rest of the season with Deshaun. And I was like, oh, we're about to ruin that week 1 with Deshaun against the Texans. But I'm happy. I'm happy we came out with a win. It seemed like the team did rally behind him. They knew. Even Brandon Cooks said it. I don't know if you guys saw that clip of Brandon Cooks going up to Deshaun saying it's going to take time. Dude, you haven't played a live football down in 700 days. Like the fact that they expect this dude to come back out and beat Patrick Mahomes, like you got to set realistic expectations for this guy. I think we'll have a better week next week. Don't get me wrong, but still, like, be happy you came out with a win this week.
Yeah, I think
glorified preseason game. Glorified preseason game. That's what it was.
I think with Watson, man, it's just there are so many people, and I'm not saying they need to feel a certain way at all. There are just a certain group of fans that want to see him fail. It's completely understandable given the situation, but to come in and expect a guy that hasn't played football in 700 days to come in and be a Pro Bowl quarterback, one, is just not humanly possible. I think we saw it's going to take time. I mean, the second half of the year is great to where he can get his feet wet. I do have to say, Tony Grossi should have retired 30 years ago. Like, why are you asking Kevin Stefanski if Deshaun Watson is going to be your starting quarterback against Cincinnati? He's like, oh, it's a must-win game. Oh, Deshaun Watson's going to be our quarterback, and we're going to, like, okay. Like, why are we asking this question? Are we that starved for attention, these people in the media, that we have to ask if the guy that we paid $230 million in guaranteed money is going to be the starting quarterback next week? Like,
so that was Tony Grossi?
It was Grossi.
I don't know who asked it.
Grossi actually tweeted it.
Oh my God!
Did it.
People like he's just desperate, man. He cannot get, like, no one pays for his website.
I don't even think he knows what he's doing. Yeah, I don't even think
he doesn't. I mean, it's just it's craziness. I mean, come on.
You traded all these first round picks for him. You gave this dude the most guaranteed money in the NFL history. Yeah, let's bench him after one game when he finally gets to come back and get his feet wet.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I mean, I know the players in that locker room, and I'm sure the coaches are not saying, let's just play for momentum going into next year. They're probably saying, let's see how the cards fall. Just, 1-0 every week, control your own destiny. But as realistic fans, you have to understand, like, one loss, we're basically, I would say we're out. It's over. So the team is building momentum heading into next year. Let's just show some glimpse of hope and then build off of that next year. So, I mean, yeah, he's going to be your starting quarterback regardless. He can go out next week and go 12 of 30 for 100 yards, and he's still going to be your starting quarterback against the Ravens. It's just
that would be painful.
Deshaun could throw 4 interceptions on 4 straight dropbacks on 4 straight possessions, and on the 5th possession, he would be still under center. It does not matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like everyone, like you guys were saying it. I don't know who here thought, who at all thought that Deshaun was going to come out and light the world on fire. I was surprised he didn't get a touchdown. Like I thought he was going to get a touchdown, but obviously he was way lustier than I think even a lot of people thought, more than he even thought that he was going to be. Because I mean, he came out, he was underthrowing, his mechanics looked really kind of jumpy. But the thing is that those are all things that can be fixed. Those are all things that once he gets into the rhythm of things, like he was making the right look, he was making the right lead, and he was making the right pass. The pass just wasn't accurate. It didn't have a zip on it. It was a little bit too low. And heck, even sometimes he was, scrambling. Maybe you could say a little bit too early. You could say that he just didn't have it. He's even was saying he just felt out of shape. He felt like he wasn't up to speed. And that's all stuff that he'll just get over, and slowly, reintroduce himself to the game, and that's all what we expected. So, I mean, the fact that he came out and, still had at least some looks that made you say, oh yeah, this guy can definitely do something. And he made some really nice passes. He did make some pretty nice downfield, but I don't think anyone ever expected him realistically. I don't think anyone who can be honest would say that they thought that he was going to come out and immediately be like dropping 3 touchdowns and 300 yards. It just, no. I don't understand where people were coming with that. And the idea of benching him is completely idiotic.
Like, dude, you have to get the rust shaken off of him at some point. And people are like, well, why don't you just, I did see this comment. Why didn't you just finish the year with Jacoby as quarterback? If Watson goes into next year, 2 full years removed from not playing football, it's going to be even worse. Like, you have to get him on the field. And I'll say this, the offensive line did not do him any favors on Sunday at all. Nope. I don't know what's happened. I did see someone, maybe it was Cody Shuk from the OBR. It was someone from the OBR said that the thing that you notice is the tackles, and that they might not be used to Watson's cadence. Mm-hmm. Even though like he's done it in practice, it's different when it's on the field. It's different than Jacoby. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but that offensive line has got to be better, because you have a guy who hasn't played football in nearly 2 years. You got to give him some help. You really do. And when he did make a play, I don't want to jump on Schwartz because I feel bad he's in concussion protocol. That's brutal. If you're out 4 weeks with a concussion, there's something more to that. I hope he gets better. But, dude, Watson had a great play to create, had a pass to Schwartz. Dude, just hang on to the football. Like, maybe you get some momentum going from that play. Instead, it just ruined your momentum that Watson had on that drive. Teammates have to do him favors, man. And on Sunday, Watson was not great, but they have got to pick him up. Pick up their quarterback, and they didn't do that.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's why we're so lucky that a defense that hasn't really created turnovers all year, gets 2 defensive touchdowns, and there's pick 6 and a fumble recovery touchdown. And then DPJ, I'm sorry, of all people, I did not expect that return. I did not expect that from DPJ.
He's been close to breaking one off a couple times this season. Like, there's been a couple of times where, like, if he was just one step faster, if he had just like broken out of one tackle, he would have broken off. I mean, the second he got into that, he got to like the 40-yard line, he was gone. Like, there was no one around him. Like, he got past that second tackle, and there was no one between him and the end zone. So, I mean, he's got a great, like, vision. He's got really good shiftiness, like, once he gets the ball in his hands. And I mean, they just gave him like way too much space to start picking up some speed. That was an incredible run back.
Also, an important statistic that everyone wants to point out, so I'm going to point it out. Nick Chubb, under 20 carries, the Browns are undefeated, and normally when he has under, we lose. He had 17 carries and we won. So just want to throw it out, that little tidbit of information.
Yeah.
Incredible.
What are the odds of that one happening? I thought it was impossible. I did.
Yeah,
it was impossible.
True.
That
is kind of crazy. It is kind of crazy though, because if you think of it, we didn't even throw the ball 30 times, and we didn't run the ball 20 times.
Well, no, that game was. I'm not gonna lie.
We couldn't move the ball, man.
This game was kind of boring.
And we won though, Tyler. That's what I'm saying. That was
this
crazy.
game was kind of boring because we didn't do anything on
Texans,
offense.
I'll say that.
We didn't do anything on offense except for getting to field goal range a couple times, and then just like our defense would go out there, and then it would be like three plays, turnover, touchdown. Cool. The defense is back on the field. Like, what was the time of possession difference? Like, it must have been like 2-1 for the Texans, because like they just had the ball for like half the.
We had the ball 30. We had the ball 32 minutes. They had the ball 27 minutes.
How is that possible? I don't understand. It seemed like we never had the ball.
Maybe it's because when we did have the ball, especially in that fourth quarter or end of the third, we really just bled the clock.
Yeah, I guess we were running all. Yeah, that's probably what it is. It didn't seem like we had the ball for that long. So like, oh gosh, that was definitely a game that I'm not going to rewatch the highlights for that one, because it's like 4 plays and then that's the whole thing. It's like, yeah, whatever.
If we play any other team, we lose.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. We don't just lose; we probably get blown out, dude.
If we play Davis Mills, it might be a closer game.
Yeah, I don't know. Davis Mills wasn't really lighting it up either. That's why he got benched.
Well, yeah, but he's not
coming back.
What Kyle Allen's doing. Like, whatever the heck Kyle Allen is doing. Hey, he's an incredible driver of tanks. I don't know if he was like trained in the Army or something, but like he can drive a tank.
Before we move on and talk about the Bengals here, guys, what do you think about some of the wrinkles you saw in the offense? Stefanski didn't give away a whole lot. He really didn't, and there was no reason to in this game. What were just some of your takeaways from this?
RPOs.
The fact that they had the RPOs, and that they did have designed runs for Deshaun. Like, I was surprised that they ran them. I thought that they would avoid it because obviously he's rusty. You don't want to put him in a position where he can get hit, or put him in a position where, because he's not, used to the cadence of, pulling from Nick Chubb, that he fumbles it or something stupid happens. But no, they ran like 2 designed run plays where it's like he immediately was just going with it. Like, I'm surprised, and I'm curious to see how much more they get him involved in the run game when you have Nick Chubb just sitting there just grinding, and then all of a sudden, now it's Deshaun Watson, and you have to completely shift the way that you look at the Browns offense. I mean, that's something that we all knew was going to be a wrinkle in this offense, but the fact that they're bringing it out so early and they're making it a point to say, hey, this is something that we can do, and we're not going to be afraid to do it, even though, Deshaun might still kind of be still learning the offense. We're still going to do stuff that might make you, think twice when you load up the box on us.
Yeah. Well, and something too, Jack, is a wrinkle we did not see, and we will see it because we saw it. We saw video from practice. The element of Chubb, Hunt, and Watson in the backfield. Mm-hmm. We will see it at some point because this is Hunt's last year with the Browns.
Yeah.
So I expect to see it at some point. I have no idea when. I'm glad they ran Watson though, because at some point, man, he's got to use his legs. Like, you got to get him involved. And it's like Stefanski said, they don't know how long this is going to take, like, for him to shake this off. This is, like Watson said, it is week 1. It was week 1 for him and week 12 for everybody else. That's just the reality. And really, you could argue it was the preseason for him, and it was week 12 for everybody else.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. And I love the comment he said where he said, I felt all 700 of those days. Like, it's true. Like, you're going to come out and you're going to be like, oh shit, this is real. This is football. He said it's like riding a bike, I think, right? Isn't that what he said?
Yeah.
He's like, it's like riding a bike.
Similar, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's like riding a bike, bro. I'm sorry. But now you haven't played a live down of football in forever. You're going to get out there and you're going to realize, it's not practice anymore. They can hit me if they want to, So it'll happen with time. I do expect a better week next week, though. I do.
I do too. I don't think, again, he's going to like light it up, but I think he'll be more efficient than he was. And I think it's a positive, though, that he's missing low as opposed to missing high. Going from low up to your chest, that's a lot easier to fix than if you're missing high. So the fact he's missing low is good because that also prevents picks that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the fact he's missing low is a good sign, but also something to keep in mind, guys, especially is when we did talk in the offseason, the Browns are going to add another wide receiver at some point. If you're going to go empty with Watson, which they are, and we saw it a decent amount on Sunday, dude, you need more receivers. I mean, because David Bell looks like he'll be fine. That's good. Schwartz hurt. You brought in Jalen Darden, who I like him personally. He's only 23 years old. Tampa Bay is loaded at receiver, so I don't really think that's a knock against him. Came in the same draft class as Schwartz. He could be that little slot guy, especially if you go 4 or 5 wide. Jalen Darden's a perfect guy for that. But outside Cooper and DPJ, dude, it is slim pickings there. It really is. And I told you guys that, like, if anyone gets hurt, it's not good for the offense. And I think we're starting to see that, unfortunately. And I'm hoping that in the offseason, they bring somebody else in because I think you're going to have to. Maybe even 2 more guys in. You need competition there for Watson.
And I know, Tyler, I know me and you talked about it with Jack Duffin on Twitter, but the fact that he agrees with us that they're going to draft for the future, they're going to draft for the future, and then the free agency, they'll probably bring in the needs they need on defense. So I won't be shocked if this year, if you see the Browns draft a wide receiver with their first pick in the draft. So
people already think you're crazy when you say that. Draft a D tackle. No. I'm addressing.
I'd rather sign a defense tackle. Yeah, I'd rather pay someone that's going to instantly produce for you at defense tackle. Stop risking it with these rookies. We've tried that a lot. Jordan Elliott, Tommy Togiai, Perion Winfrey. We have not gotten the production we thought we were going to get. Maybe that does fall on Joe Woods, but draft for the future on your offense at wide receiver and go from there. Because eventually, Amari Cooper's not going to be on this roster anymore. So
it's an unfortunate reality.
Have backup plans. Yeah. Same thing we talked about 2 years ago with Odell and Jarvis. It's just gonna happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they will prepare accordingly. So, like, I will say, I think Kayshon Boutte from LSU, him going back for his senior year is a little bit of it's a bummer for the Browns, not just because, again, like, we've drafted LSU guys, but he's the type of George Pickens like talent that hasn't quite put it fully together at this point, and the Browns were interested in Pickens. So he's the type of guy they would have a lot of interest in. So it's unfortunate he went back to school. But Jack, what are your thoughts, man? I mean, because we're really going to see that wide receiver depth tested, especially if the Browns want to spread it out more with Watson. And it looks like that's going to be the case.
Yeah, you just need more guys. I definitely think that it makes more sense to take a rookie wide receiver in the second round over a rookie D tackle, because D tackle I think is just a way more it's a position that needs a lot more development, unless like you're like one of those just thoroughbred, just insane competitive guys. Like if you get an Aiden Hutchinson somehow in the second round, then you start him, you get him. But who knows if a guy like that even exists. Wide receiver, I mean, we've been seeing just even from this, just look at this draft. Look at all the guys, all the rookie wide receivers who are making impacts on their teams, like all over the place. I mean, you can just look at George Pickens individually. I mean, he's like the number 1 target now in Pittsburgh. He's incredibly athletic. He's really good. Obviously, he's held back by Matt Canada offense, which does kind of suck for him. But I mean, wide receivers are just getting better and better out of college game. And so it makes way more sense for the Browns to take a guy in college who is going to be cheap, you're going to have for a long time, and is already based at a pretty decent level that you can develop, but he's already going to be able to start in an NFL capacity. Then get a D tackle that has already been developed or has already proven at least something that he can do, and just bring him in, pay him money, and then not have to worry about developing him. It just makes way more sense to get a guy who's already established at that position than to waste a pick and then hope that either, whether it's Joe Woods or whoever the heck the defensive coordinator is, hope that he develops him correctly so that he becomes an actual like future piece for the D line.
Yeah, and there was a defensive tackle they tried to make a trade for on the deadline that they will make a push for in March. I know we can't say names right now, but we all three of us know who I'm talking about. But they tried to trade for him at the deadline, and just nothing happened. Barry even kind of like hinted at it, but they will make a push for him in March. So that's why I believe that they will address those needs in free agency and draft for the future for now on in the draft. So.
Well, and Zach, that's what Jack Duffin tells us all the time is you want to adjust your needs in free agency and prepare for the future through the draft. I mean, this draft class, it's not as loaded at wide receiver. There will be plenty of time to talk draft, but there are some guys that will be available on day 2 when the Browns select that I would absolutely love in this offense. So it's going to be fun. See what happens there. Josh, real quick before we move on, I saw this. The NFL is going to bury Watson. Like, these shows are going to bury Watson. It's the way it is. It doesn't have – it's just how it is, man. He has not looked on favorably. It's going to take a while. But that's just the way it is. And Random Cardboard says, and find a replacement for Willis, please. Willis, that's the $1 million question. We'll see what happens with Jed Wills. I think they'll end up picking up his 5th year if they don't have another solution in place. Because at that point, you got to protect yourself. Like, at least have the bases covered there. So, but guys, as we're moving on, and the Browns are going to take on the Cincinnati Bengals this weekend here in Cincinnati. Christmas is coming up. I mean, it's really about 3 weeks away, actually. And there's no better time. I don't know how you guys feel, but if I'm buying something for one of my best friends, my dad, I'm going to Homage for all my gear.
Yes, sir.
Have to, bro. You have to. And like,
what's your favorite thing about Homage? What's your favorite thing about Homage and the clothing they have?
I think I love that retro look. I do. I love that retro look, man. You can't beat it. And honestly, I believe it was in February before we even partnered with them, and I was in Crocker Park, and I went to the store, and it was Homage, and I'm like, dude, this is the kind of store I want to go to. This is the kind of clothing brand I want to get. They had retro Ohio State, retro Cavs, the NBA Jam style stuff. I'm like, dude, this brings you back to my like prime childhood, like nostalgia. So that's what I love about it, and it's so comfortable. Come on.
Yeah, like that's the big thing is that like I have like old stuff, like old Brown stuff or old Cavs stuff that, you know, it's sentimental to me. So like obviously I keep it, but I mean it's worn down. It's not super comfortable anymore. But like you go to Homage and they have a lot of the same stuff. In fact, they make stuff that even looks the same as the stuff that you could have gotten back then. So it's got that retro look. It's got that nostalgia factor, and you wear like their shirts, you wear their hoodies. It's all super comfortable, really good materials, really high value, really high quality. I mean, Homage is just like and you go there and they just have a million things there. You basically want to, and so you can get everything for any sport, any team, anything. So like they just have such a great mix of like value, options, comfort, just size, like everything you would want from Homage, you can get. So like it's one of the best places to get clothing.
And if you want to surprise your dad, your grandpa, like imagine them opening up a gift and it's that retro, even like a starter's jacket, a hoodie of Cleveland Browns that they wore back in the 80s. And they're like, dude, how did you get this? Homage, man. Homage. Put them on the Homage. You won't go wrong.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's great that Christmas is coming up too. It's not my money that I have to spend on all the gear. I can ask for it and hopefully get some of that way. Like, because again, I talk about many times, if I had an unlimited amount of money, probably 3/4 of it would go towards Homage gear. It's that comfortable, and it's also, I mean, again, it's the softest clothing, but that retro look you just can't beat. So hopefully, we put it here in the description. Go click that link. It'll take you.
That's the link to this hoodie I'm wearing right now. It's so comfortable, bro.
The fighting brownie. I love it.
Yep.
So guys, go check out Homage today, and be sure to tell everyone Network 216 sent you. So guys, the Browns are returning to Cincinnati. The first time with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. Joe Burrow has never beaten the Browns. What are your guys' expectations for this game on Sunday? Let's just start there. What are your expectations for this game?
Well, I am expecting that Deshaun is still going to be rusty. I think that he's going to probably not be asked to do a lot more than what he did against Houston. And to be honest, the Bengals still their defense is still kind of roughed up. They still are missing a lot of their secondary. They did have a really good game against the Chiefs last week. But I think that they're going to probably just go back to what they've been doing all year, which is they're going to run the ball with Nick Chubb. They're going to be establishing the game. They're probably going to be seeing if Deshaun maybe is more comfortable passing this week. I think that he's going to be passing a lot more once we get, especially if we get into the red zone. But I think that the Browns are going to do what they've been doing against the Bengals basically every single time we've played them in the Kevin Stefanski era. They're going to establish the running game, and they're going to say stop Nick Chubb, or we're just going to keep running him.
Yeah, and the Bengals are going to come out thinking differently than they did last time too, and they couldn't stop Nick Chubb. So they're going to come out thinking, okay, now they got Deshaun Watson at quarterback. Now we have to take that into account. So that, and I hope Njoku's back. I'm sure he is, but I hope Njoku's back. But that being said,
he practiced fully today. He's expected back on Sunday.
Let's go.
But I am still a little nervous about this one, guys. I am. I just,
well, of course,
like, yeah, we've had their number. But this is just, I expect it to kind of turn into a shootout, though, because before the season started, the wide receivers and the DBs, they all talk to each other. And now they got Jamar Chase coming back. They didn't have Jamar Chase last time. So now we're going to see it. We're going to see it happen. Joe Burrow is going to probably have a Joe Burrow game. So we might have to rely on Deshaun Watson to kind of just, okay, knock off that rust. Like, let's go. It's time to keep us in this game. So we'll see. But I am a little nervous about this one.
Let me play devil's advocate here, Zach, because I'm there with you with this game. Let's say it does get into a shootout. Can the Browns, this isn't a knock on Watson. It's the fact he hasn't played in 700 days, like just a bunch of consecutive games. Can he win the Browns a game right now? If it comes down to a shootout with Joe Burrow, can he do it?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you guys. Do you think those instincts would kick back in? Because in Houston, he was known for like comebacks and being able to have that clutch factor. Do you think that instinct would just kick back in with Deshaun, or do you think it would still be it's too rusty, his throws aren't there right now, or do you think it's the complete opposite, that it factor just kind of clicks again?
Well, he could still make those throws. We saw during the game that there were passes, and that he had the instinct, and that he had the reaction time that we all expected him to have. The issue is that just having all of that mixed together, having the reaction time, having the throws on the run, having the deep ball accuracy, he's not all the way with all of those. Like he was getting out of the pocket, rolling, and then throwing it to David Bell.
They didn't really take many deep shots, dude.
I know they didn't take a lot of deep shots.
He's gonna have to on Sunday, man, or else they're gonna.
He's gonna have to air it out.
Oh, he's gonna have to air it out, but I'm just saying that if you look at what he would do in a situation in which you would need to come back, he can make those shots that are at least like not super far down the field, but I mean like 15, 20, 30 yards, like that one pass to Amari Cooper that he saw him, he went through his progressions, and he would have probably hit him if he wasn't super rusty, but his mechanics were just bad and he threw it short. He threw it at his feet. Those are the things that, like, the fact that he's able to still do that after 700 days of not playing shows that he still has the mental fortitude to be able to make plays, see plays, break down the defense, understand where everybody is, and like go through the progression to be able to do the things that he was able to do 2 years ago. He just needs to get into the physical rhythm and to be able to understand like what his body can and can't do. And then hopefully knock the rust off and be able to really understand, like, okay, how hard do I have to throw this? What timing? How much touch? And once he gets back to that, maybe kind of what you're saying, like he'll just snap out of it and be able to just like make those throws again. Now, will he still probably make a couple of mistakes? Will we still be seeing balls thrown short or thrown into the dirt. Yeah. But I think we're also going to start seeing more of those passes that were short actually hit guys in the chest, hit them in stride, and then we'll slowly be building back to that. But I think that if we put him in a situation where we said you need to pass and we need you to like make plays to get us down the field, I think that he could do that. Considering that we've already seen the ingredients for it last week or on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I think it comes down to a very simple factor here. Can the O-line protect him? And I say this because, again, the game is so much faster when you're live as opposed to in practice, in a script, whatever it might be, going against air. Everything is so much more sped up. If the Bengals speed up Watson, I think we see a little bit more of what we saw in Houston. It's a guy that's going to abandon the pocket quickly. He's going to try and use his legs to create plays. I will say the thing that's very encouraging about Watson, and again, I'm not taking a shot here at our former quarterback, but the fact that Watson has shown just the time that he's put in while he's away, not just with Quincy Avery as quarterback coach, but actually, I don't know if you guys caught this during the broadcast. He asked when he got to Cleveland, he wanted film of Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones so he could learn exactly how they cut off their routes, how they run certain routes. That way he could get that timing down mentally. So
dude,
I love seeing that out of a quarterback, man.
Tyler, he's a smart quarterback, bro. He is. Like,
he is.
Like that's why I just love talking to Deshaun Watson, the football player, because dude, I don't know if you guys watched that video of him with Kurt Warner breaking down film.
Dude, fantastic.
He's a smart quarterback, bro. He's probably literally the smartest quarterback we have had on this team since '99. Like he is. I mean, even Josh Dobbs, dude. Like, I mean, Josh Dobbs was the smart quarterback. Best of luck to him. But I'm just saying, like, he's a smart quarterback, dude. He knows how to study film. He wants to study film. He wants to get better. It's just about shaking that game time rust off and being able to like that live time of actually like taking a rush. And to bring up your point about the offensive line, I think you're kind of seeing the third string center effect, you know, like that rush every single time he had to get abandoned the pocket is because all that rush was coming right in. Wyatt Teller's kind of playing a little sloppy since his injury too, but Froholt, dude, and people saying like, oh, well, you should have prepared for that. No, you don't prepare to lose both. You don't prepare to lose both your centers, dude. Like, especially like that. Like, yeah, no, I don't think any team in the NFL right now has prepared to lose two centers. And
well,
Belichick came in,
too, you mentioned
he was
Wyatt
playing
Teller.
well, dude.
You mentioned Teller. His performance, I think that's fallen off since Ethan Posick went down. A lot of guys on the line because they're having to compensate and help out Froholt. That's just how it is. So we're going into Cincinnati. Again, Joe Burrow's never beaten the Browns. What's it going to take, Jack, for the Browns to come out on Sunday once again, beating one of the hottest teams in the NFL, the Cincinnati Bengals? And what will be, I fully expect, a hostile environment for Deshaun Watson.
Oh, for sure. Well, look, it really does come down to one major thing, and that's getting pressure on Joe Burrow. Like a lot of our success on beating the Bengals has been getting to Joe Burrow and forcing him to either make a mistake, that being he throws a ball that gets batted and then it gets intercepted, or having him rush through his progression and throw a bad interception, or have him rush through his progression and just throw an incomplete pass. I mean, even in our game earlier this year, like if you get to him and you don't let him get to just like his first read, you can succeed because his offensive line isn't that good. So like if you can get to him, you can get some sacks, you can get him behind the line of scrimmage, you can find success because their run game is not that good. Even with Joe Mixon back, we saw it. It's really not that good. So if you can get them behind the line of scrimmage, force them into obvious passing situations, and then have guys that are capable of getting pressure, then you can absolutely, like, at least you're not going to hold back the Bengals, especially with Jamar Chase back. You're not going to hold them back entirely, but you can at least throttle their efficiency and make it so that your defense can get off the field more often and give your offense more chances to score, more chances to drain the clock, and really just get your offense, going. rather than just letting Joe Burrow, drive down the field and do whatever he wants. That's like one of the major things that I think the Bengals have really gotten lucky with the last couple of weeks, is that they've just been playing against guys who really are not capable of getting a lot of pressure on Joe Burrow. So
yeah.
So I think that's like the number one thing, is just we need our defense to keep doing what they're doing, and especially for guys like Myles Garrett, Jadeveon, whoever is on the defensive, whoever is playing D tackle, they need to bring it, because they need to be able to get some pressures and hopefully get some sacks on Joe Burrow.
Yeah, that's exactly what
Jack,
I was going to say.
you hit it all.
Yeah, because that's exactly what I was going to say too. Like, as long as your secondary can keep up with these wide receivers and then let the front seven get to Burrow, that's kind of been a recipe for success against them in the first place. Burrow he's really he gets shaky under pressure, So as long as you can keep that up, I don't see why we can't just keep winning against these guys, because once you take Joe Burrow out of the game, the Bengals are not a high-power offense anymore, obviously. So, yeah, Jack, you really did nail that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hit basically everything that we were both going to say. So great job, Jack.
Well, look, Joe Burrow did my job for me. He talks about it, like what makes the Browns so much harder to play against. Well, you have a guy like Myles Garrett who can just come around the edge at 100 miles per hour, and no one can block him. You need to double team him, triple team him, chop him. You need to do everything you can in order to stop him, and he still gets, even if he doesn't get a sack, he gets QB hits, QB hurries, QB pressures. He gets everything that you'd want that puts pressure on Joe Burrow and makes it harder for him to do his job. And that's just what you need. You need to be able to do to win this game. You need to make it harder for Joe Burrow to do his job.
Yeah, and by the way, Jack, Myles Garrett's numbers this year, you have to look beyond just the sacks. Myles Garrett's on a planet of his own. It's just remarkable to me. So, as we are making our picks here, courtesy of Underdog Fantasy, Browns and Bengals in Cincinnati, who you guys got?
Look, man, this is going to be a rough one. This is going to be a really hard game. And honestly, I don't know how I'm going to feel about it until the game actually starts. It's one of those. It's like with the Bengals game earlier. I don't know how confident I was in that game. It's definitely going to be I think it's going to end up being like a shootout. But I do think that the Browns are going to win it anyways, because I don't think I've ever chosen the Browns to lose this year. So I got to kind of just go with my
real quick
gut here. Yeah.
This is my bad. I just realized something. We forgot to total up last week's results. How'd you guys do last week? My bad.
I went 3-1.
3 wins and a tie. Are you serious?
Hey, you're in that column with me. I went 4-0 last week.
Oh my gosh, this is terrible, man.
So, what is everyone's overall record?
28, 23, and 1.
31 and 15.
31. All right, one sec. All right, and I'm 36, 15, and 1. Jack, you and I both have ties now. Now Zach needs one.
This is stupid, man.
Now Zach needs a tie. All right.
Nah.
So, Jack, you got the Bengals. Zach, who are you taking in this one?
Wait, what the heck did you just say? You said I took
Browns.
the Bengals.
My bad.
Yeah,
I was reading something about the Bengals
the Browns are winning 30-24. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
They're gonna win. They're gonna win 24-20.
MC Lawrence says Browns 31, Bengals 27. Chubb has 20 plus carries.
First 20 plays, all carries. First 20 plays, all carries, and then they win.
I think Chubb does end up ultimately winning us this game, but I got Browns 34, Bengals 31.
Okay. All right. And Josh says Myles Garrett's numbers are what they are because holding is illegal on anyone in the league except Myles. True. Also facts. If Myles actually would just fall down when he's getting held, they'd probably call it. Anyway, okay. You guys both got the Browns. The Bengals are one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now, if not the hottest team. You're going to Cincinnati with a quarterback that, in my opinion, is still rusty, and it's just going to take time to shake that off. I think if it gets into a shootout in this game, I think Watson can somewhat keep up, but I just think the Bengals would be too much. I got the Bengals in Cincinnati. I think they're going to win this game 31-24.
I hope you're wrong, buddy.
Listen,
hope you're
man.
wrong.
I do too. I honestly,
Tyler,
if this wasn't Watson's second game of the year, I'd probably pick the Browns.
Tyler, here's the thing. This isn't just a game on the field. We have to think about the guys off the field, okay? Kevin Stefanski has never lost to Zach Taylor.
So, unfortunately, that means he's due.
No, that means that he will never lose to Zach Taylor, okay?
I hope you're right.
So that means that, I mean, look, Joe Woods becomes the best defensive coordinator. He becomes Bill Belichickian when we're playing against Zach Taylor. I mean, he's going to bring his A game.
Sorry, guys.
Myles Garrett becomes Myles Garrett when he plays against the Bengals.
It's true. We'll see, man. Like I said, I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong on this one. As we move on, Jack, who else you got this week? Who's your first pick?
Let me go ahead and bring up the games first. Hold on.
Wow, Jack is just slacking all the way around.
Okay, week 14. Let's see here. Oh, yes. You know what, man? I'm really digging the Seahawks over the Panthers. Give me Geno.
All
right. Zach, who you got?
Gotta get back in that win column, I see.
I mean, a lot of these games aren't.
Let's do Bills over Jets.
Okay. All right.
Hey, man.
Mike that's going to be a close one, bro.
Mike White.
Yeah. No, it will. As long as Garrett, I like
as long as Garrett Wilson goes off and Josh Allen go off, I am okay.
Yes, sir.
Let's see here. Man, they're not great matchups this week, really. Like, as far as, like, should be really good games. It's just crap matchups, pretty much. Man, even Thursday Night Football's a dud. Okay. I'm going to take the Titans over the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence probably isn't going to play, or if he does, he's not going to be 100%. So I think I'm going to take Titans.
Speaking of tomorrow night, is a former quarterback playing for the Rams?
He might be active, but I don't know if he's going to start.
Man, we ride with 17. We ride with
them. We actually do.
Josh Allen, baby. We do.
That's true.
We need the Rams.
You know, I have these guys in fantasy, and after what happened last week, I don't know how else I could go against these guys. I'm gonna.
What'd you say?
The Cowboys over the Texans. I have the Cowboys defense in fantasy.
Oh, that's a rough one for you right there.
I do too, but I also have Dameon Pierce. So.
Oh no, that's a rough one, bud.
I did this last week and it worked, so I'm hoping this works again. So I'm gonna go Dolphins over Chargers because we need these tiebreakers.
True. Have to hope Tua can play in that game.
Oh fuck. Excuse me.
Like he's. I mean, I think he's going to, but it sounds like he's gonna be limited. If like he was limping pretty good last week.
Well, I picked it.
Give me Brock Purdy and the 49ers over GOAT
Mr.
Tom.
Irrelevant. Mr. Irrelevant. Already looking better than Russ. Already cooking more than Russ.
Dude, Russ is just awful, man. It's
kind of sad.
Actually insane how bad he is. Okay. You know what?
Who you ending with?
You know what? I really don't know if I 100% believe what I'm about to say, but I think that in the battle. Oh wait, hold on, crap. This game's at 1:00. I don't think I can pick against Kirk Cousins at 1:00. I don't think that's possible. You know, I'm going to do it anyways. Jared Goff and the Lions are going to beat the Vikings.
Dude, it's going
to happen.
I thought about it.
The Lions are real. And guess what? Amon-Ra St. Brown is doing the same thing he did last year, where he just goes off and just completely torches any defense he goes up against. He's doing it again. Jared Goff is going to beat Kirk Cousins in a 1 o'clock game. It's going to happen.
All right. Zach, who are you ending it with?
God, who else do we need to lose? We need the Raiders to lose. All right. Rams over Raiders. Let's do it.
I hope so. Goodness, that game's going to be painful to watch.
Come on, number 17.
I don't even know if I'm going to.
Come on, number 17.
Dude, Aaron Donald's not playing. Cooper Kupp, Stafford.
It's going to be rough, man. That is going to be so
Devontae
bad.
Adams.
That is going to be so bad.
I'm just trying to root for my Brownies, bro. But at the end of the day, they got to control their own destiny, man.
Josh Jacobs is about to go off for 300 yards, man.
I hope.
Yep. There's no doubt about that.
Fantasy purposes, baby. Let's go.
All right. For me, I don't want this to happen. I just think it's going to. Obviously, the Ravens aren't going to have Lamar Jackson in this game. Kenny Pickett's looked better the last couple weeks. The Ravens are so beat up at wide receiver, too. They don't really have anybody. I mean, they really don't, like, at wide receiver. You can take the Steelers over the Ravens in Pittsburgh. I don't want that one to happen.
I don't want it to happen, but I feel like I do actually think that that's probably very likely to happen.
You said the Ravens over the Steelers?
No, Steelers over the Ravens in Pittsburgh.
Oh, no, yeah, I don't want that to happen either.
I don't either, man.
Look, man, if Mike Tomlin somehow pulls this out and goes 9-8, I'm gonna lose my mind, man. I'm just gonna lose it.
It would be the most Steeler thing to do.
Honestly.
It really would. As we're wrapping up this episode of the Faithful Dogs podcast, gentlemen, any last thoughts before we end tonight's show?
Look,
control your own destiny, Browns.
Control your own destiny.
On other teams.
Don't freak out. If Deshaun still looks bad, it's not the end of the world. Remember, the end of this season is not as important as the beginning of next season. This is all in preparation. We're not going back to Jacoby. We're not going to try to salvage what's left of these games. This is all for the whole purpose of these last 5 games is to get Deshaun Watson ready for if we somehow make the playoffs, if we run the table, it's all for getting him ready for either the playoffs or for next season. So don't despair. Don't think it's the end of the world. It's not.
It's the end of the world.
Really well said, Jack. Really well said. If you guys aren't following the show, be sure to give us a follow at FD Podcast CLE on Twitter. Again, thank you all for tuning into this episode of the Faithful Dogs podcast. If you are not yet subscribed to the Network 216 YouTube channel, free to do. You're entered in then for a jersey giveaway. It'll be a jersey of your choice. And speaking of that, live on our YouTube channel tonight, the Network 216 YouTube channel, the Dog Chug will be live at 10 o'clock. So make sure you guys tune in for that one. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We look forward to talking with you next week, and go Browns.